Things just took a shocking turn as just 8 days after signing with the team, Hakeem Adeniji was placed on the reserved retired list, and the Baltimore Ravens just put on pads for the first time this summer, and once that practice got going, the intensity immediately picked up. Baltimore's defense controlled this padded practice as Lamar Jackson and the offense had a very difficult day. Rookie Jacoby Lane continues to impress and had one of the biggest plays of the Ravens training camp. Chandler Rivers continues to surprise us on the defensive depth side, and Vega Ioane had one of his real taste of NFL physicality for the first time, accidentally running into Derrick Henry and learning what happens when you run into Derrick Henry. But there was a lot to break down in day 5 of the Baltimore Ravens training camp, and we're going to break all of it down on Ravens Digest. But before we get into today's video, you guys are going to want to make sure to subscribe to Ravens Digest. 70% of you guys aren't subscribed to Ravens Digest. It is completely free, no cost at all, and we're providing daily Ravens videos, updates, rumors, and all things Baltimore Ravens. You guys are not going to want to miss out on the content we are providing on a daily basis. But now, when we talk about the shocking retirement surrounding Hakeem Adeniji, before even stepping on the practice field for the Baltimore Ravens, the team had received the unexpected news of Hakeem Adeniji being placed on the retired list just 8 days after signing with the team. And the timing of the move definitely made it surprising due to Adeniji being brought in to show some of his versatility and his experience. This is due to Adeniji being able to play offensive line at both a guard position and a tackle position. And this was something that Baltimore would have had a veteran option for in terms of this offensive line depth. But now the Baltimore Ravens will continue to move with other options looking forward. And as we know, Adeniji was not a player just with limited NFL experience. He started and was a 6th-round pick for the Cincinnati Bengals in 2020 and made 14 starts during his time there. And 9 of those starts came at right guard during Cincinnati's AFC Championship run in 2021 that ended with a loss to the Rams. And after leaving Cincinnati, he spent time as both a Minnesota Viking and a Cincinnati Brown. And during his time with the Browns, he spent that entire year basically on injured reserve, suffering a knee injury during the preseason. And most recently, Adeniji spent his last little stint as a Dallas Cowboy, where he played 77 snaps as a reserve offensive lineman and started one game against the New York Giants for the Dallas Cowboys. But for the Baltimore Ravens, this doesn't change what the expected starters were going into this season. We already know that the offensive line depth matters for the Baltimore Ravens due to the season being long and injuries happening. But having a player who can step in multiple positions was extremely valuable for the Baltimore Ravens, and Adeniji's retirement means another opportunity opens up for the younger players competing for roster spots for the Baltimore Ravens. But with the Adeniji news out of the way and shifted back to the practice field for the first time, the Baltimore Ravens finally got out there and put the pads on during practice. And the energy in this first padded practice for the Baltimore Ravens was very important for the Baltimore Ravens, because this is where coaches can finally get a look at the physical side for these newer players for the Baltimore Ravens. And the O-line can compete and put elite contact and use more contact in terms of being a physical player. And the defensive line can use their strength and be more physical when it comes to going against these offensive linemen. And the position battles for the Baltimore Ravens have started to become very clear during these depth positions. And the biggest difference between the padded practices and the early training camp practices that we had was the intensity. The Baltimore Ravens continue to bring that extra juice during practice, and padded practices are one of the few practices where you can get out there and be physical and show that physical side of the NFL. And as we know, the offensive line had been starting to get a rhythm for the Baltimore Ravens, but several offensive line competitions are still happening, and these reps are very important for the Baltimore Ravens. But on the receiving side, a player who was very impressive in the early bit of camp is Elijah Surratt. He is one player who stood out as the rookie receiver, has had a strong showing in one-on-ones, and continue to show why Baltimore is excited about this younger, productive wide receiver group. But as well as this, the tight ends also had a very productive time during this first little training camp, with Mark Andrews, the target of the Baltimore Ravens, always continuing to show why Lamar Jackson trusts him major and every single play. But the other pieces within that tight end room, the Matthew Hibners and the Cuevases, Matthew Hibner made some very impressive catches today and continued to compete for a starting role in that crowded tight end role, whether it is a tight end 2, tight end 3 role. trying to fight for a deeper depth chart spot in that tight end room for the Baltimore Ravens. And the Baltimore Ravens offense also tried a lot of deep shots during this practice. However, these opportunities rarely turned into successful plays, as the secondary for the Baltimore Ravens had a very difficult day for the Baltimore Ravens offense. And even though there was positive moments from the offense throughout time, the Baltimore Ravens defense was the better group out there today for the Baltimore Ravens, and their physicality really showed why Jesse Minter should be impressed with this upcoming unit. The coverage as a whole on the receivers was very tight, and the throwing windows for Lamar Jackson were very limited, and the offense continued to struggle to consistently create opportunities. This is something about the Jesse Minter defense that he is trying to implement going into this season. Throughout the first week of camp as a whole, the Baltimore Ravens have shown the speed, the discipline, and the physicality. But now with pads on, that same identity has continued. The combination of Trey Hendrickson, Calais Campbell, and all of these pieces such as Mike Green all at a healthy position, the Baltimore Ravens have the personnel to create coverage and pressure without sacrificing routes on wide receivers. And this combination makes it very dangerous for the Baltimore Ravens, as the Baltimore Ravens pass rush can affect quarterbacks and make it difficult, while the secondary has enough talent for receivers' lives to be difficult on a play-to-play basis. But when we talk about the defense having success, we need to talk about the Baltimore Ravens offense, and the offense all starts within their quarterback, Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson had a very difficult day during his first padded practice, and during team drills, Lamar Jackson went 6 for 14 on passes, and in early 11-on-11 work, he started 0 for 5. But there is some context behind Lamar Jackson and these numbers. Jackson wasn't simply missing the easiest throws he could make. He was being very aggressive, and he attempted several high-level, high-reward throws, including downfield passes and back shoulder opportunities. 2 of those passes attempted in a defensive pass penalty pass interference call. But the Baltimore Ravens continue to put in this work, with Lamar Jackson during 7-on-7 work going 3 for 4, and he making shorter throws, fewer than 10 yards of an average in terms of being able to throw the ball downfield. But Lamar Jackson knows that this is what training camp is for. The offense is still trying to learn Declan Doyle's new system, and the defense is still adjusting to the newer Jesse Minter scheme. Some days one side is going to win. That is just what happens in the NFL. And today was a clear day where the Baltimore Ravens defense had a pure advantage out on the football field. But even with the Baltimore Ravens offense struggling overall, there were still several individual moments that stood out for Baltimore Ravens fans, and one of their biggest offensive plays of the day goes to the rookie receiver out of USC, Jacoby Lane. Jacoby Lane during one-on-one drills had a high-level separation route against Chidobe Awuzie and finished the rep with a high, long touchdown. The Baltimore Ravens are looking exactly for what they need within Jacoby Lane, and at 6'4", he gives the Baltimore Ravens a completely different receiver that they have had in previous years. And Baltimore already has the players that are explosive, such as Zay Flowers and Bateman, but adding a bigger body target for Lamar Jackson, who can win downfield, is a great weapon. And although Jacoby Lane still has a lot to prove, training camp is only beginning, and making plays against these veteran defenders for the Baltimore Ravens shows why he could be a very dangerous piece for the Baltimore Ravens. And while the younger receivers for the Ravens continue to make their case throughout training camp, one of the players that I've talked about in several videos is Chandler Rivers, and Chandler Rivers has continued to impress in the Baltimore Ravens training camp. During one-on-one work, Rivers broke up a pass over the middle and continued to show confidence against Baltimore's receivers. And for a rookie corner in this crowded secondary that the Baltimore Ravens have, every single rep for Chandler Rivers matters. And Baltimore has several players that are fighting for opportunities, and Rivers continues to give coaches a reason to keep evaluating him. His clearest path to the NFL roster may come throughout a special team place or a special teams role, but these defensive plays can allow him to get more corner reps, and training camp is all about finding players who can create difficult decisions for quarterbacks, and Chandler Rivers is continuing to do that for the Baltimore Ravens. But while the battles in the rookie room are happening, and the first-round rookie Vega Ioane has had some real NFL physicality, his first test in the NFL happened today, and it went no other than Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is a physical running back for the Baltimore Ravens, as we know, and the rookie guard has been expected to compete for a starting role, with Vega making these practices extremely important for the Baltimore Ravens. But during practice, Ioane tried to make a downfield block and collided with Derrick Henry. And if there is one player you do not want to run into by accident, I would say it is is Derrick Henry by far. And Vega Ioane spoke about this specific moment involving him running into Derrick Henry, and he said, yeah, welcome to the league. I mean, it's Derrick Henry right there. He's a big running back, a stronger guy, a phenomenal player, of course. I'm chasing after the linebacker, thinking that I'm going to get him, and we both end up on the ground as Vega Ioane suffered the better end of that stickler. And this moment shows exactly why the rookie adjustment is such a huge thing to make, as Penn State is a big college for Vega Ioane, but college football cannot prepare you for the NFL size and strength that you are going to see every single day. And Ioane is learning very quickly that Derrick Henry is one of those physical backs that it is very tough to run into in those scenarios. And while the rookies continue to develop for the Baltimore Ravens, we know that Justin Madubuike has been on our minds as we have patiently been waiting for him to return to a healthy form. And he is continuing to work back from his neck surgery, and the Ravens are taking a very cautious approach with their two-time Pro Bowler. Madubuike eased into the individual work and was seen wearing a neck pad today, and the Baltimore Ravens are trying to not rush him. The goal is to have him ready for when the season arrives, because when Madubuike is healthy, he changes the entire Baltimore Ravens defense. We know that his pass rush forces offenses to change their protections and can create opportunities for him and everyone around him on the defense, and this is why Baltimore is being very patient with Madubuike. And Madubuike wasn't the only positive injury news that the Baltimore Ravens received, as today out there on the practice field, Calais Campbell and John Jenkins both returned for the Baltimore Ravens defense, and Calais Campbell is returning to the field after stepping away following the passing of his mother, and he was limited during individual drills, but Jesse Minter explained how valuable Campbell is to the team. Minter called him a force multiplier because of his leadership and the knowledge that he provides to the other members of the defensive line. And Josh Jenkins also passed his physical and came off the physical unable to perform list. And these returns are strengthening the defensive front that the Baltimore Ravens have, as we know it has a lot of talent. And the remaining players that we're hoping to get back are Travis Jones, Ted Buchanan, and Corey Bullock. And the Baltimore Ravens are slowly getting healthier, giving coaches more opportunities to evaluate the roster as a whole. But the Baltimore Ravens' first private practice gave us a lot and a bit of everything that we were looking for. First and foremost, the unexpected news of Hakeem Adeniji retiring, a defense that is continuing to look very impressive under Jesse Minter. Lamar Jackson had a very difficult day within the offense, but with plenty of context, as it wasn't just simple throws he was missing. He was trying to make very difficult throws that will be needed for him during an NFL regular season game. We saw very encouraging reps from the younger players on the defense and big plays from Jacoby Lane. But going into week 1, these are the practices that the Baltimore Ravens are starting to prepare from. And who stood out to you in terms of this first padded practice for the Baltimore Ravens? Was it the Baltimore Ravens defense? Was it Jacoby Lane? Was it Chandler Rivers? Or was it somebody else? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video of Ravens Digest, make sure you leave a like, subscribe if you are new to the channel, and turn on post notifications so you never miss another Ravens rumor, update, analysis, and all things Baltimore Ravens. But thanks for watching today's video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. And until then, Ravens flock always.